What's going on, everyone? So Christian Wood is officially in the Lakers facility, and it's a beautiful thing, right? Like this was the move that we had been waiting on for quite some time, right? This is the move that the Lakers had been waiting on for quite some time. They believed that they were going to land Christian Wood, which I mean, their patience was something that always made sense, right? It's like there's not anybody that's like super major out there that's like that big of an impact player. Christian Wood is the only one that is out there. You're talking about a legit 17 and 8 guy added to this roster that is already just ridiculously deep. And on top of being ridiculously deep, we're a contender before Christian Wood, right? Christian Wood is kind of just like the cherry on the sundae, which I really like to see, right? You can never have too much talent, right? If you have an issue and your one issue is like I don't know how we're gonna play everybody, that's a very good issue to have. And look, Darvin Ham, he's going to have his work cut out for him, right? He's going to earn his paycheck this year, having to manage all these guys, manage all the egos, things like that. I mean, you have 5 or 6 guys that are going to be expecting 30 plus minutes. You got another 5 or 6 guys that are going to be expecting 20 to 25 minutes. You're going to have to get everyone on the same page, everyone buying in, everyone focused, everyone with the same mission and same goal. And it's not a veteran roster. Yeah, you got LeBron James. Yeah, you got Anthony Davis. Christian Wood is like 27, whatever. And then you have like Taurean Prince, who, no, he's what, 29, something like that, off the top of my head. And outside of that, though, the other 10 guys are all like 25 and under, right? Like they're all extremely young, right? You got a couple guys that are like 26, but like, like a lot of these guys went from, like, even guys like Taurean Prince was playing like 25 minutes a game for the Timberwolves, stuff like that. You got a lot of these guys that are used to playing 20 plus minutes a game that now you're going to have to tell them, like, hey, you're playing 15 minutes, or you're playing, some nights you might play no minutes. Like, it's going to be a challenge. It's definitely going to be an obstacle. But it's great to see Christian Wood on this roster. This is a real opportunity for him, right? He wasn't having trouble getting a roster spot because of his talent, right? And even with all the issues, there were still teams that wanted him, right? There were still other teams that were waiting for him. We got countless reports. I mean, even Miami was a big destination for him. The Warriors were another option, right? That made sense for him. But I always thought it was the Lakers. I was preaching constantly that he's going to Lakers. Don't worry about it. He's going to Lakers, right? I mean, we made videos and had conversations about other things, of course, because you never know. I'm not a fortune teller, but the Lakers just made the most sense. It's the biggest spotlight. You look at guys like Gabe Vincent, who, yeah, he was on Miami in Heat culture. He comes to the Lakers and he's doing like a press tour and stuff like you're never going to get the attention that you need to change the stigma that is around you unless it's the Lakers. Right? The Lakers are the one destination that can do that for you. And if Christian Wood buys in and is a big part of this Lakers roster, has an impact, and especially if the Lakers win the championship, he's going to get paid. He's not going to have to worry about it. Somebody's going to say, all right, like we'll sign him long term. And maybe that team is the Lakers, right? If it works out, why wouldn't you want to keep him, right? And especially you could lose D'Lo's money if he opts out, and then LeBron, he could always, even if D'Lo opts in, he can always make it work if he needs to. And look, if LeBron gets number 5, you don't think that he's going to go and try to get number 7? Of course he will. Absolutely he will. But it was nice to see these images come out of Christian Wood hanging out with Cam Reddish and, showing some love and getting some workouts in with him. And I mean, I also wonder how much has he actually worked out and put on the court, right? Because, I mean, he hasn't been attached to a team. So it wasn't like he could go to Dallas's facility or the Lakers facility or anything like that. It doesn't mean that he wasn't in some gym somewhere. I'm not saying he was just like sitting on his couch eating Cheetos all day. Not saying anything like that. But, was he able to go and get the workouts needed, or does he have to kind of expedite things between now and then, right? Like, it's a real concern. So it was good to see him going in with Cam Reddish, being able to kind of just grow those bonds and that relationship early on. These are two guys that are very similar in a lot of ways. Two guys that have a lot to prove and are hoping that the Lakers is that destination to prove that, to kind of leverage a new contract next year, right? These are two guys that really have a lot on their plate that they're going to need to kind of just show, like, okay, like, not only am I this talented, but I'm also a team guy. I'm also a team player. I'm somebody that can buy in and play whatever role is asked of me or whatever role is needed of me. That has a lot of value as well, right? And both of these guys are still extremely young, that have a lot of basketball ahead of them if they play their cards right, right? These are two guys that could very likely have big impacts on the Lakers. I do have my concerns that Cam Reddish may end up being one of, if not the odd man out. That doesn't mean he'll never play, but I don't know how much, if at all. And I think he's a guy that may end up seeing several DNPs, right? Christian Wood, I imagine, plays every game that he's available, right? I think he's a guy that is, I mean, he said himself, he was promised a big role. He was said that he'd be given the opportunity to potentially work for a starting role. I think he's going to want to do that, right? I think he's going to take that very seriously. And, you know, I look at a guy like Cam Reddish and I look at a guy like Christian Wood, and there are so many similarities. Like, I could see them, the two of them, really building a bond together, because Cam Reddish, it has a stigma around him to an extent, not to the level of Christian Wood, but he does have that stigma about his work ethic, right? That's why I love seeing all these images of Cam Reddish in the gym and in the training facility, and he's literally working out and getting shots up and all that stuff. Because even dating back to Duke, there were talks about him and his work ethic, and him not putting the hours in the gym, and him not taking the shots necessary, and him not practicing and honing his craft the way that he should be. This is a guy that also hasn't really gotten an opportunity in a real, in a structured environment, but also a winning environment, right? He's kind of been dealt a bad hand since he's came in the league. Top 10 pick, perceived to be the next big 3-and-D wing, maybe like at worst, hopefully like a Jeremy Grant type guy, a guy that could really come in and be a cornerstone for a franchise. Gets drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. He's actually really good for Atlanta the first couple years, and then Atlanta makes the Eastern Conference Finals, and all of a sudden they think that they're better than they are, and kind of push the chips to the table and make some changes. Cam Reddish ends up kind of becoming the odd man out, and they end up trading him to the Knicks. And as the Knicks are trading for him, Tibbs goes, I don't want Cam Reddish. Don't trade for Cam Reddish. We don't want Cam Reddish. I don't need him. And the Knicks still trade for him anyway. And he was in Tibbs' doghouse the moment he got him, right? And it's just, how do you show up, go to work every day, give 110% when you know for a fact the people that matter don't want you, right? It'd be like if you went to your job and your manager and the owner of the store were just made it abundantly clear that they don't like you and they don't want you there. You'd be like, why am I here? Why don't you fire me? Why don't you trade me, right? And ultimately he ends up going to Portland, where he has some success in Portland, and then signs with the Lakers. And this is a place that the Lakers have shown 2 or 3 times that they want Cam Reddish. They tried to trade for him several times. It just fell through every time. And one of the times the deal was done. Paperwork was getting processed. And then the Knicks got greedy and that fell apart. It was a 3-team deal between the Raptors, the Knicks, and the Lakers. And they were supposed to get Cam Reddish. And it ended up not happening. And it's nice to see kind of full circle Cam Reddish return to the Lakers. Or, well, not return, but come to the Lakers finally. And now be in a position to prove himself and hopefully be a long-term fixture here. He's a guy that I am super high on, has all the tools and intangibles to be a great player. He's at least with the Lakers, appears to be putting in that effort, putting in that work, right? And the similarities with Christian Wood are a lot of the same things, right? Christian Wood's character, his ability to buy in, like, again, Cam Reddish, I think it was more of just nobody wanted him, right? Like he was, perceived to be this guy, and then he goes to these teams and it's like, we don't really need you. We don't really want you, right? Where Christian Wood, it was like Christian Wood got to where he's at because he had this chip, right? In a lot of ways, that's been his blessing and his downfall, right? His blessing and his curse. That chip, that motivation, that all of that is huge because, going undrafted, working his way up the ranks, going from team to team to team to team to finally getting that contract and feeling like you're this piece and being a 17-8 guy. And then you go to Dallas and it looked like all the things were going up, right? But again, he hasn't been in a structured environment and he hasn't been in a winning environment. He was on the Houston Rockets, right? When he was asked about his frustrations, he said, I just want to win, right? Well, now look, you're on the Lakers, who has the environment, has a winning culture, has a roster that's built to win an NBA championship. You got LeBron James, you got Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham is a player coach, a guy that will have you believing that you can run through walls and walk on water, right? Like, he's in the best situation he could possibly be in. It is now up to him to stay focused and do the job and the task that's at hand, right? It's up to him now to show, like, it wasn't me, it was them. Again, there was some just chaos, right? When the Houston thing, like Houston with the whole, James Harden, and he's, is he wearing a fat suit? Is he not? And it's just an absolute mess. And from there, after Harden leaves, it's just everything's falling apart and they're tanking, and Wood is trying to actually win some games here and then get me out of here. And then he goes to Dallas. And him and Jason Kidd didn't see eye to eye. And I know a lot of people are like, if Jason Kidd couldn't get him to work, how can anyone get him to work? And it's like, Jason Kidd, as far as a head coach, the jury is still out. He wasn't very good at all with the Nets. And he hasn't done anything really with Dallas. And I mean, he didn't even make the play-in last year with Luka and Kyrie, right? And he made all these promises. Christian Wood said there was no communication, right? So let's not pretend that Jason Kidd is this player whisperer that has all this success as a head coach. He had success with the Lakers as a player coach and an assistant, right? He wasn't the head coach. He was kind of the guy, he was kind of the voice for the players, for Frank Vogel, right? That's not the same thing as being the head coach. Right, so and so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? He's in a situation, he's in an environment. He needs to change that stigma. If he doesn't, he could be out the league. We have seen very talented players be out the league because they just can't get their self together. I think Cam Reddish, and I also think Gabe Vincent is going to be a great example for him. Because Gabe Vincent has the exact same story as Cam Reddish. They're the same age. And the difference is he's a guy that went the right way and is known as locker room guy, culture guy, a guy that'll do everything, a guy that'll be the hustler. I think that he will be good because he can be like, dude, I went on the same journey, man. Right? It's hard to connect with people that you don't have relatability with. Right? Christian Wood and LeBron James, they could end up being close. They could develop a relationship. They could develop a friendship. But Christian Wood is never really going to understand what it's like to be LeBron James. Right? Because he's never going to be LeBron James. He didn't have the journey that he had that LeBron had, where came in the league and was the chosen one and all that. He didn't have that. He can't really relate. He can relate to a certain extent, but he can't fully relate as far as what Christian Wood has had to go through on this journey and what he's had to work for. But he can with a guy like Cam Reddish and definitely a guy like Gabe Vincent. Because again, Gabe Vincent has gone through the exact same journey. So I'm curious to see how it goes, but it's just great to see. Genuinely. I'm pumped to see Christian Wood just kind of in the lab now, getting in work. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? You pumped? You not? Let me know.